So today we're going to talk about basic coordinate geometry first. So we are moving into kind of like our next unit, but it's like kind of like a subunit from what we've been doing. And I'm not gonna lie to you, you're probably not gonna like it. Because it's like long problems. But we're going to make the best of it. So before we get started, I'm gonna hand you your review sheet for your test on Friday. We will do review during your double tomorrow. And that delta math that you worked on yesterday is going to count as part of your test grade. I think I'm going to do 40% delta math, 60% test. And if you did not finish that delta math up yesterday or you were not here yesterday, it's due tonight at 11:59 p.m. So make sure you do that. And this is posted on Google Classroom with the answer key as well. Okay, so up at the top of this lesson are 3 formulas that you've already learned: slope, distance, and midpoint. This will actually be good because it's reminding you of these formulas, because I know for a fact some of you, most of you, did not memorize these formulas when we had the test on them. So this is just serving as a reminder. Also, we had the break, so it's been kind of a while. Okay, so the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Distance formula, square root of the difference of the x's squared plus the difference of the y's squared, and then midpoint formula is the average of the x coordinates and the average of the y coordinates. Each of these formulas proves something different. So when you're using the slope formula, and I think I'm going to type this just so that it's neater. When you're using the slope formula, that's going to prove that lines are either parallel or perpendicular. So when the slopes are equal, the lines are parallel. Also proves perpendicular lines. If the slopes are negative reciprocals. Okay? The distance formula obviously tells you the distance of the line or the segment. So it tells you if 2 segments are congruent, because if they have the same distance, then they're congruent or equal. And then the midpoint formula proves that two line segments bisect each other. And remember, the word bisect means cut in half. Just a couple of symbols that I wrote in there for you. Perpendicular is the upside down T, and then congruent is the equal sign with the little squiggly over it. Okay? And then parallel is the standing up equal sign. They're mostly going to use these symbols when they're asking you to prove things, so it's important that you know what they mean. We've pretty much been working with them all year, but just as a reminder. So for number 1, it says, given points A, B, C, and D, prove that AB is parallel to CD. So when they use that equal sign standing up, that means parallel. And when two lines are parallel, that means that the slopes are the same. So you have to prove that AB and CD have the same slope. For number 1 and number 2. So I'm going to start by finding the slope of AB. Here are the 2 points I'm going to use. And I'm going to label x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm going to rewrite this. And then I'm going to plug those values into the slope formula. So I have 8 minus 5 over negative 3 minus negative 4. And you're going to plug that right into your calculator. What did we get for the slope of AB when we plugged it in? Chris? Excellent. Great. Then you're going to do the same thing with CD. So you're labeling your points x1, y1, x2, y2, and plugging into the slope formula. So that's going to be 7 minus 1 over 3 minus 1. And you're going to plug that right into your calculator as well. Wow, Anthony, you were prepared for that. Pulled out that pack of batteries. Everyone should take note right now and have an extra pack of batteries on hand at all times so you don't have to interrupt my lesson to get batteries. And when you plug this in, you end up getting 6 over 2, which is just 3 as well. So then you have to make a statement. And this is why I'm saying you guys are probably not going to like this, because you have to actually write a sentence. Very rarely do I make you write a sentence because I'm really here to just grade your math and your numbers. But unfortunately, when you're doing proofs, you have to write a sentence. Very important, the wording of this sentence, okay? So the sentence must be the same sentence I'm writing. AB is parallel to CD because they have the same slope. I would also be okay with it if you wrote they have equal slopes. That would be fine as well. But you have to write down what they were asking you to prove. So in the beginning of the problem, they said to you, prove that AB is parallel to CD. So when you write that sentence, that's how you're starting off the sentence. AB is parallel to CD, which is what they asked, because, and then give me the reason why, which is just going to be basically explaining what the math is that you did. Okay? The only way you can prove something's parallel is by saying they have the same slope. All right, so now we're going to come over here and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find the slope of AB, and we're going to find the slope of CD. So we have 2, 4, and 7, 2. Labeling my points, x1, y1, x2, y2. And if you don't have to do this, you don't have to do the labeling, great. You don't have to do that part. Just plug it right in if you understand that. 2 minus 4 over 7 minus 2 gives me negative 2 over 5, my slope. Then I'm going to do the same thing with CD. My points are 2, negative 2, and 7, negative 4. x1, y1, x2, y2. Plug in, negative 4 minus negative 2 over 7 minus 2. Which is negative 2 over 5. The other thing about these questions that makes it nice, they're telling you in the problem to prove they're parallel. You're just proving it. You're not showing that it's not true. So you know when you do the math, these answers should be equal. If they're not, there's a problem with the math that you did. So you have to go back and check. They're already telling you it's true in the problem. They're not asking you if it's true. They're saying, it's true. Prove it to me. So you're proving it by doing the math. And then that's why you're writing a sentence at the end to sum everything up. Okay? So again, AB is parallel to CD because the slopes are equal. Either one of these is okay. Questions about the first page? Okay, we can flip to the next page. While you're done copying. The next page, very similar, except now instead of proving parallel, you're proving perpendicular. So that means that the slopes are negative reciprocals. So that's always where you should start. When they're asking you to prove something, look at what they're asking you to prove and figure out, come up with a plan. How am I going to prove that? When you're talking about parallel and perpendicular, the only way to prove that is through the slope formula. So for perpendicular, you're looking for negative reciprocal slopes. For parallel, you're looking for the same slopes. So AB is where I'm starting. My points are 1, 1, and 3, 7. And I'm plugging into the slope formula. Which when you simplify gives you 3. Then you're going to do the same thing with CD. definitely did not leave myself enough room here. CD, your points are -1, 5, and 5, 3. And I'm plugging it into the slope formula. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. So it's going to be 3 minus 5 over 5 minus -1. Which simplifies to -1 over 3. So your sentence is going to be what they're asking you to prove. AB is perpendicular to CD because the slopes are negative reciprocals. Yes.
Did you get
3 minus 5 is -2. 5 minus -1 is 6. So it's -2 over 6, which simplifies to -1. Always plug the slope into your calculator though in a fraction, because then you don't have to worry about making a calculation error. And you always want it in simplest form, because if you got -2 over 6 here, then you wouldn't really be able to tell those are negative reciprocals. All right, try number 4 by yourself. You're proving the same thing. So you're doing it the same exact way. All right, so the slope for AB was -2/5, and then the slope for CD was 5/2. Again, if you just plug this into your calculator, it will give you 5/2. If you do it piece by piece, you're going to have to simplify -10/-4, which simplifies to +5/2, because these are both negative. So then your sentence is going to be AB is perpendicular to CD because the slopes are negative reciprocals. There's really no way to shorten that one, unfortunately, because there's not another word for negative reciprocal. Questions on slope formula, parallel, perpendicular. Okay. The next thing they can ask you to prove is that two segments are congruent. So when they're asking you to prove two things are congruent, you have to use the distance formula. So they want to know, prove AB is congruent to CD. So we're going to find the distance of AB using points 1, 2. And 3, 5. So again, if it helps you, label your points x1, y1, x2, y2. A lot of us messed up the distance formula on our coordinate geometry test, so just make sure that you memorize that formula. I will write it up here for you. It's also on the front page of this packet. Subtract the x's, square it, plus subtract the y's, square it. Doesn't matter if you do x2 minus x1 and y2 minus y1, or if you flip the order. As long as you start with the same point on both of these, it's fine. So when I plug this in, I'm going to get 3 minus 1 squared plus 5 minus 2 squared. You're going to plug everything underneath the radical into the calculator without the radical. You should get 13. So the distance is radical 13 for AB. You're not plugging in the radical, because if you plug in the radical, then you're going to end up with this answer. And that's an irrational number. So you don't want to write that. You don't want to round it. You want to show that it's identical to the other distance. So then you're going to find the distance of CD. Those points are -4, 2 and -2, -1. x1, y1, x2, y2. So the distance -2 minus -4 squared plus -1 minus 2 squared. Then plug everything underneath the radical into the calculator. And again, you should get 13. If you got anything other than 13, you know you're wrong because you're proving they're congruent. They're already telling you that they're congruent. So now your sentence is going to be AB is congruent to CD. That's what they were asking me to prove. Because their lengths are equal. Or you can say congruent. Questions on that? Okay, try the next one by yourself, proving the same thing.
Yeah. Can I say because their lengths are the same?
Yes. This is 43 or 42. We're not done yet, but just prepare. Okay, so for that one that I just asked you to do by yourself, number 6, proving the distances are equal. So both of them were radical 29. Remember, you're just plugging in everything underneath the radical to the calculator. You're not plugging in the radical. And you get 29 for under the radical for both of them. Your sentence, AB is congruent to CD because their distances are equal. Questions on that? Okay, flip to the next page. Last possibility of what they can ask you is to prove that two lines bisect each other, in which case you need to use the midpoint formula, which we all forgot on the last test. X1 plus X2 over 2, comma, Y1 plus Y2 over 2. It's going to be a coordinate point, your answer. Okay? Midpoint. You're looking for a point or a coordinate. So you're going to find the midpoint of AB and the midpoint of CD. This is the easiest in my opinion, the midpoint one. The formula is just very simple. Slope formula is very simple too. Distance formula is the only one that's slightly annoying. So the average of the x's for A and B is 2 plus 4 over 2. I'm literally taking the average. Add them together and divide by 2. So that gives you 6 over 2, which is 3. The average of the y's, 1 plus 5 over 2. 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So your midpoint is 3, 3 for AB. For CD, you're doing the same thing. Average of the x's, 0 and 6. 0 plus 6 over 3. Sorry, not over 3, over 2. The answer is 3. And then average of the y's, 2 plus 4 over 2. 6 over 2 is 3. 6 over 2, again, is 3. So that midpoint is 3, 3 as well. So then when you're writing your sentence, you're writing what you have to prove, which is A, B, and C, D bisect each other. And you're telling me why. Because and you're going to explain the math you just did. So you just did the midpoint formula. So because the midpoints are the same. You're just writing a sentence to summarize the math you just did. So I think this one's the easiest. Try the next one. You're proving the same thing. A, B, and C, D bisect each other because the midpoints are the same. So find the midpoints. All right, so the midpoint for both of them was negative 3, 4. Anyone want me to explain any of the math behind that? Okay, and then your sentence, identical sentence to the first one. A, B, and C, D bisect each other because the midpoints are the same. Questions about this lesson? Okay, the homework has all 4 types. You're just doing one of each type. 1, 4, 7, and 10. Okay? 1 is the slope formula. 4 is the slope formula again. It's perpendicular. 7 is the distance formula. 10 is the midpoint formula. Same order we did in class.